I think it seemed like it probably was more like that.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like daylight. The other is tungsten.
Hi, I'm Sharifah Hardie, and I'm inviting you to tune in to my all-new show, In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie. You'll never know who's going to stop by the studio, who you're going to see, who you're going to meet, who I'm going to introduce, and I know a lot of people. So you definitely want to tune in to In the Studio with Sharifah Hardie on Saturday. Check out who you'll meet next, or if you're interested in being a guest, want to promote your business, visit the website at AskSharifah.com. Thank you for tuning in. I am Sharifah Hardie. I have a very special show for you today. But before we get into the show, I definitely want to thank our sponsors for all of your support. We would not have a show without our sponsors. I want to thank URBT Network. You want to find out some interesting comment. You want to make some chill, watch some movies, that kind of stuff. You definitely want to go to urbtnews.com. Okay, so thank you to Joseph Collins, the CEO of the company, for all of your support. I also want to go ahead and thank our sponsors, supportmyblackbusiness.org. We are raising $1.5 billion to help local Black businesses grow, survive in this whole area. Okay, then I want to go ahead and thank all the support for the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce. You can visit their website at blackchamberofcommerce.org.
Support My Black Business is a reliable GoFundMe-type crowdfunding platform specifically created for Black businesses. Our mission is to close the racial wealth gap by supporting Black-owned businesses and helping them grow. Through this powerful platform, Black business owners can create a campaign in just minutes and raise money. It is simple to launch and manage on the go, or participate in our mission to help us to create a better tomorrow by donating to our Black businesses. All donations go directly to making a difference for our cause. Your small support can change a lot of lives. Don't wait. Black business owners need your help. Just go to www.supportmyblackbusiness.org and create your campaign or donate today. Together, we can make a difference.
You want to advertise your product or business? Are you fed up with conventional marketing techniques? Don't worry, Sharifah Hardie brings you the ultimate solution to promote your product on her exclusive show, In the Studio. Attract a wider and different audience of business owners and entrepreneurs. Just imagine, your product is being displayed live and archived for even more exposure. Boost exposure for your product or service. Don't miss this opportunity. Visit the website today at AskSharifah.com for commercial ads today.
Global, right?
If you're just now tuning in, you definitely want to go ahead and share this show. Let all your friends know we are in the studio with Sharifah Hardie. And one of the things that I always say is that there's a lot of people who make my life look easy because they help me with a lot of the work. So I want to introduce my right hand. She helps me with so much, and we're going to also find out about what she has going on. Mrs. Dana Nickerson of the university. Welcome, Dana. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excited to have you.
Me too. Yes.
You have so much going on. But tell us, who is Dana Nickerson?
Dana Nickerson is a woman who has found herself in a place in life where I can give back. And with all the ideas and with all I've seen working in healthcare for 30 years, I get the disparities and the gaps that our culture has. And as our culture, just the human race. There's a lot of areas that we don't touch upon that are very, very important and more so now. And that's one of them is mental health. That's one of my major causes. And so I find myself in the area of being a mental health advocate. And I want to just disrupt the stigma around mental health conversation. I have it that we should be talking about mental health everywhere.
Okay, so what are some of the stigmas that affect the mental health?
One of the stigmas I have found is that when it comes in, and I'm speaking to the Black community, that we have a spiritual life that governs pretty much everything we do. We have a way of doing things if we're church people. If we go to church and we're Christians, we have a life that's pretty much encompassed by the activities of church, and then we use the Word of God as our basis. And what we find, and what I'm looking at in research, is that we also have mental health as an issue that we sometimes don't talk about because we have God. And we don't seek the help that we need. And we're also ashamed of the conversation because some of us feel like we are not aligned with God if our minds don't work the way they should. And so for me, the stigma around Christian conversation and mental health is that it doesn't collapse, that you are a being and you have issues and you have processed life the way it comes to you, and it might leave you in some type of unrest. And how about if we say to the church, let's have these conversations at church where most Black people are.
No, okay, that's a lot of information, but I want to break it down for people like myself who this is the first time they've had this conversation. So when you're talking about the church and the relationship that Black people have with the church and mental illness, is what specifically causes this divide? Are you saying when they have some type of anxiety or some type of depression or some type of mental breakdown, instead of seeking assistance, it's like, okay, well, I just pray it away or Jesus will take care of it? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that, as well as a lot of our mental health symptoms go in silence out of shame, that our prayer life perhaps is not working, and that we don't talk about it.
Okay, well, explain that. You said our prayer life is not working. So before we even discuss that, what are some of the symptoms that people may experience? And I just want to say this disclaimer for everyone who watches. This is not a medical show. I don't have a degree in medical medicine or anything.
No.
I just want to have this conversation. So what are some of the signs that, this is not medical advice, but what are some of the signs that in your experience of being in the medical field for over 30 years that you have seen personally with your eyes?
Okay, I can use my personal example, is that I was very anxious. And the kind of work I do in healthcare is emergency medicine, and it is traumatic work. And I wouldn't reach out around my symptoms such as anxiety, sleeplessness, worrying all the time, and almost tremors at times from being anxious, because I felt like it was more important to hang in and pray more. So I don't want to generalize to anyone that their spiritual life is not working. I just want to say, for a woman of faith, I found myself still in need of something, and I didn't know what it was because I didn't know what was going on with me.
Many times when people find out what's going on with them, it's a direct result of some type of breakdown or some type of collapse. It's one of those when people say you hit rock bottom, that's when you go up, that's when you make changes, that's when you ask for help. Did you have that moment that required you to ask for help or change?
I did. In 2010, I had my second bout of breast cancer. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer for the second time in December of 2010. And as a result of that, I came out of my job to heal and to go through my treatments and to really look at my life and take some time off. And after my treatment was over, with my medical help and my community and my family, we chose that it was probably not a good idea for me to rush back to work. And I found that without that drive to do my work, that I was left alone with my thoughts. And that's where my anxieties really showed up, and an inability to cope, and at times not even be able to take care of myself. And so that kind of activity around people that know me to be a getter and a go-getter and a mover and really active person, it triggered a response from my community. Hey, what's going on with you? And that's when I started to look into my mental health.
So when you say you looked into your mental health, did you get the yellow pages, go online, start Googling? Because so often, especially when you speak about mental health, with any type of physical ailment, you can see it. So I know my hand is broke. I can go to the doctor and say, but a lot of times with mental illness or your mental health, you don't know where to go. You don't know which specialist, which doctor to call. So how did you determine where you needed to go?
Wow, that's really interesting. I had a conversation. I'm glad you asked me that, because it just brought back the kind of the why. And I had a conversation with some friends at lunch, a girlfriend's lunch, and I believe it was 2014. And some of the things that she was going through paralleled what I was going through. And although we were close colleagues, we never spoke about those things in depth. And when I really realized that I wasn't alone, I started to Google things like, what does it mean when? And some of the things that are kind of personal to my situation. What happened? Why does the person do this? And I started getting led to YouTube videos. And one of them was around narcissism. So what does it mean when you live with people and they have this effect on you? And it pointed me to a life coach on YouTube around narcissism. And I started to see myself in his videos. And then I started to reach out for professional help.
So I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly and I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that you were a narcissist?
I'm saying that what I was exposed to is narcissism in other people.
Okay.
And how, from what I've studied since then, 2014 till now, that people who have tendencies to be codependent can almost be magnets for narcissists.
Okay.
And because of my line of work, codependency chose me. I'm a helper to all that come through the hospital doors. Boundaries are not something I express in that way. So I'm going to help people whether they're able to help me or not, or even whether they're healthy for me to be around or not.
Why? But the thing about it is you speak of this issue that you incurred almost like a third person. You know what I mean? So you've done the work. You've gone through the process in order to understand that you weren't setting boundaries. Since then, have you been able to set boundaries?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Since then, I've also taken on being in a position to help others in this area. So I became a peak performance trainer.
Okay.
That will allow me to have executive skills to train people at work. And then while I have them, I have their ear. And then I also became a trauma-informed coach. And so my life coaching is really around healing. And I speak to it as a third person because for so long I was my symptoms. And now I have the power to get that I'm over here with what I deal with and the ways that my mind works. And then there's ways to manage that. And so I don't have to take it on as I am anxiety or I'm depressed or my depression, my anxiety. And so I'm real thoughtful with my words because that's really the seed of how we accept the world around us, what we say to ourselves and others.
Yes, it's not claiming anxiety, not claiming depression, not claiming I am codependent. It's focusing on being whole, being healthy. But there's a way where you almost make it sound like so simple. You know what I mean? Like I realized I was codependent. I took this step and it was easy. But for so many people, like I literally know personally people who will have days when they can't even get out of the bed. So for them to just wake up and say, okay, well, I need to set boundaries. It's not always that easy for everyone.
And it wasn't for me.
Okay.
What showed up for me in 2015 to about 2017 almost, I went from the bed to the couch and to the bed again. Crying was a major part of my day. Unable to process thoughts so that I could reach out to friends. So I withdrew from friends and I was really, really.
So that's why you didn't call me.
That's probably why I didn't call you.
Like, why didn't get my phone call?
And,
where's Dana?
Yeah, right. And I'm isolating myself. And so in isolation, that negative self-talk turns into the truth. So no, it was by no means simple. And it took quite a process. And I can't even say that it took my will. It really was a matter of what are you going to do to get up from here? What are you going to do to have life back? And what I realized is I get to create a whole new life. So out of that, life became more simple.
I see the joy in your eyes.
Yeah.
Even when you just mentioned it, the joy just emits from your face. So you turned that into B University. How did B University come about?
Wow. Okay. B University came about out of my desire to offer other people what I felt like I could have used in the past. So rolling back tape, when did this mindset shift start? Way back in childhood, and I had a terminally ill mother and a lot of things that weren't in my control in my life. And so B University is a result of looking at what research back, what works for other people, different methodologies that I've learned, as well as best practices in coaching and life coaching.
Okay. And what can people learn at B University?
Well, really, B University is a platform for young leaders, future leaders, and young professionals. And I chose to focus on them because they are, for one, they're going to be running our world. And
Right.
so it makes sense to train young people in a different way other than the disciplines of school.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw B University as a way to give people life skills.
Mm-hmm.
And life skills that can help them to manage their emotions
Mm-hmm.
and to really be fulfilled in life.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn things like, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you in your world and in your environment? What do you really want versus what you get? Do you believe you can have what you want versus do you take what you think is available?
Mm-hmm.
And so many of our conversations are around self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the foundation of B University is self-awareness and self-literacy.
That's so wonderful that you use your pain, you use your story, you use your emotions to be able to make everyone's life better. But let me just ask you, was there medication involved? And the only reason that I'm asking, and if you don't want to share, that's fine. But so often I believe, or what I've seen in the medical industry, especially in America, is that people feel that you pop a pill for it and then all of a sudden all of this is gone. You know what I mean? So some people say no medication. Some people say I do medication and meditation.
Yeah.
And there are other people say no, Jesus will fix it.
Right.
You know, so
That
what are your thoughts?
my thoughts around the whole thing is to do what's best for you.
Okay.
And before you can really assess what's best for you, to have a really strong support system.
Mm-hmm.
So that your conversation lands and is heard.
Mm-hmm.
And for myself, I have taken what is considered pharmaceutically mild antidepressants.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point of where I am, I know when I'm out of alignment,
Mm-hmm.
and I do other Ayurvedic and holistic practices, and I still keep a prescription because you don't know how life is going to show up for you.
Mm-hmm. You've been making a lot of changes. You recently moved into Long Beach. What made you decide to come to our fair city?
Well, Long Beach has been somewhere I wanted to be for a while.
Okay.
And really what captured me around Long Beach was like how we met at the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. That was when I was coming out of my trainings, wide open to what do I want to do. And I remember the night I met you that we stood and spoke, and I couldn't speak to what I do because it was more of a ministry. I realized that I'm just giving of myself. And so when I started to see how much is available in Long Beach, resource-wise to help people, groups of people who are concerned with other people, I hadn't seen much like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you ran for city council, I really saw how we can be on the ground making a difference in our own community, and that's tangible for me because I saw you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you started the chamber and I saw you doing it alone, as well as knowing that I have gifts to give and my neighborhood wasn't really receiving me,
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm going to help Sharifah. And so as a result, in all that's available, really after your leadership, seeing like almost like a funnel, this is all that's available. And then there's just me trying to make this difference. I just wanted to team up with you because the people need people who care.
Yes, but you care as well. But I just want to be clear.
Yes.
Rich Wallace founded the Southern California Black Chamber
Right.
of Commerce in 1993, and then I was able to bring a chapter to Long Beach in 2021. And I'm so proud of the work that we're doing. I'm proud of the support that you have given to the chamber because I wouldn't be able to do a lot of what people think is easy without you. But I don't want to focus on the chamber right now. I want to make this about you and your story and everything that you've done to get here. But you're also taking an additional step. Right now, you're building your company. You're raising $50,000. Why $50,000? What are some of the things that you plan on doing with those funds?
With the $50,000, I intend to get our branding down our marketing and advertising. I need to be able to pay my speakers who are going to be serving the communities that I serve, as well as equipment and things for startup to get us going.
Why do you feel like people should support you?
Well, because we make a big difference. What our conversations do is allow people to be themselves, not feel like they need to be changed while getting the support they need. And I go to communities that are underserved, like women who are formerly incarcerated, the LGBTQ plus community who are professionals and are cutting edge at what they do and need representation and confidence. And there are several other groups that we're out to affect domestic violence victims, and pretty much anyone who's underrepresented and marginalized, who can make a big difference, and because of what they've been through, they don't see a way through. People like me.
Well, that's what you said, people like me. So you're using your story and your pain to be able to help people. One of the things that I believe is that everyone, especially now after a global pandemic, suffers from some form of PTSD. We used to just say it's the vets, it's the military, but everybody right now has some type of trauma that they're dealing with. But as Americans, especially when we're like focused on the almighty dollar, we don't have that time. We got to work the 40 hours. And I was been in management for years. And in management, if you worked 40 hours, you were a slacker. Like as a manager, they're like, you need to work 60 hours. Anything under than 60 hours, you're not giving your all to the company. You're not a part of management. And that takes a lot of pressure. Going through COVID, going through a global pandemic, that takes a lot of pressure. You mentioned you were Googling your symptoms. I got COVID last year, and the ER doctors, they literally told me to go home and Google what to do when you have COVID. And I was really surprised because I was always taught from professional doctors, stay away, as far away from Google as you can, because you tend to self-diagnose yourself in a way. So that's why I was kind of curious when you were saying you did this research and it led you to different places. Because a lot of times when we self-diagnose ourselves, you know, we could have a bunion on our foot and be like, I got cancer. You know what I mean? It looks like cancer to me. You know? Yeah. So how does somebody kind of deal with trying to figure all this out by themselves? Or maybe they shouldn't figure it out. Maybe they need to contact you and you can help them through the process to see what's real and what's not.
Well, absolutely. I'm definitely people focused in my coaching style. I listen to the individual. My methodologies are not as important as what you tell me and where I can see. And sometimes when you call a coach like myself, especially one who has experience with what you're going through, I can see through the veil or around the corner to where you can end up, and I can guide people. And that's what I'm really good at, especially young people. Young people tend to seek me out, and
I like that.
I think I'm relatable to them.
You are relatable, but if and this is no offense against you, but unless you're a licensed professional, how do you determine the difference between a mental health breakdown, mental health issues, and I'm just having a bad day?
Well, I think without giving the advice, you know, as far as medical advice, when you see a pattern change that seems to take over, it's not conscious. Like for myself, not wanting to be out and about, that wasn't something that I chose to do. It was something that was happening to me. Look at those things, just the patterns changing, and really, really pay attention to how you feel, so that when you don't feel well, you notice it. And I don't think that we're told to do that very often. We're often encouraged to forget about how we feel for what's in front of us and get what we have to get done. So number one is to pay attention to how you feel, so that when you don't feel your best, because you paid attention and know what that is, that's when you start to look at what you're thinking, how it's affecting your life and relationships, and then listen to people who are telling you if you're showing up differently.
Now, and this is a different issue, but I just want to kind of put it on the same plane without being offensive. people who have gone through Al-Anon, for instance, no matter what the program, they will always say, I will always be this. Do you feel like even though you've got the help, you change, there's still some aspect of you that, you know, has those days and you're like, no, I'm not feeling this day. Or I can't, do you still go, do you feel like you're going to be this way until Dana is 102?
Wow, yes. And
Okay.
I've found out through research. And for me, personal development and I are collapsed together. I will always be a student of personal development. And so in out of training, what I found out is that I can be aware of my thoughts, but those thoughts are rooted back from my childhood.
Okay.
And so because of the traumas that I've experienced and how life has been for me, I will always have those thoughts. It's up to me to be conscious of the thoughts and how I let them affect me.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with some work. It's by no means just an overnight thing.
No, I just want to go in a different direction on the same page. But for you, or in your experience, has that been affected by diet? I know a lot. I can tell you about me, and I'm not the kind of person that necessarily has mental health issues per se. At least, you know, they ain't diagnosed right now. If I don't take my iron pills, you know, I'll start to get really tired. If I don't eat, because I'm always go, and I look up and it's 5 o'clock, and I haven't even had a bagel or a cereal, and so physically I'm not up to par. And I'll notice on those days when physically I'm not up to par, it will affect me more emotionally. So do you feel like, yeah, everything has to be, you know, because again, we started off the whole conversation with the whole spirituality and how religion plays a part. Do you feel like when you're not in tip-top shape, mind, body, and spirit, that affects you as well? Or is it just those days when, you know, I ate my food, I'm good, I went to the gym, but it's just not right?
Absolutely. I think that your lifestyle or my lifestyle for me has played a big part in how I feel, whether it's good or bad. And diet, I haven't noticed a lot of sensitivities in diet, although the literature and research definitely recommends certain foods and, you know, look at what you're eating depending on how you feel. And one of them being like the feeling of wandering or all over the place is what people say. You might look at, do you feel grounded? Do you feel like you belong? And when you don't feel like you belong, the suggestion is to eat protein because protein satisfies you in a way that you can feel settled into where you are. So things like that I think are very, very worth looking at. And I do notice a big difference. Like you said, I just moved, and then on the heels of my dog died, and then I lost 2 really good friends within a week. So moving, I thought, was tiring. When I got moved, I realized that I had mourned the loss of all of these important people. So if I not thought about it, I would have just tried to rest it off and shake it off. But I gave myself room to deal with that.
I think that's beautiful. You gave yourself permission to grieve and tap into whatever it is that you're feeling, because that's one of the worst things of being affected by trauma is that people feel the trauma. That's the downside, because even in work, they tell you, you know, your mom might pass away and they're like, you got to be back to work. You got 3 days off, and then you get back to work. And you go back to work almost like a zombie, or, you know, the Walking Dead, because inside you want to cry. Inside you want to stop. I mean, again, I don't have mental health issues. No effect to, or nothing against anybody who does. But I have days when people who know me know, and you probably heard me say it, like today, I want to get through this day and get back in my bed. Right. You know what I mean? Yes. But for me, I have to relax. I have to recharge. I have to take off all these different things and all these different energies that I'm doing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. And you know, with or without a mental diagnosis, burnout is real and possible for anybody.
I have experienced
that
for sure.
And it takes on an emotional effect because your body's out of whack and you're not aligned with what makes life work for you. And I heard you say that you like to keep things simple, and I think that is the key. The more complex we make our lives past what we can really manage, the more emotional downfalls we'll have.
That is beautiful. Now, Dana, we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today.
Okay, well, what I want you to take away from our conversation is, number one, that you are important. You're important to the way everything works out, and you're important to how things work out for me. And so if you have questions or any concerns that you're not sure what to do with, feel free to email me at dana@dananickersonspeaks.com. And I would love for you to also get that there's no one fix for any situation you've gone through, and that whatever is real to you is real. And so take a look at my website, Be University Global. And Be University is out to change the landscape and the conversation around mental health, especially for young people, future leaders, that you have a platform and a foundation to where you're heard, gotten, and seen.
Yes, I love it, Dana. I want to thank you for being today's guest in the studio. It was such a pleasure.
Yes.
I want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch the show live, as well as everyone who is watching in the archives. Please share the show, because this is information that someone you know might need to know. Now, if you're interested in being a guest, please visit the website or for sponsorship opportunities at AskSharifah.com.
Are you an entrepreneur? Your online presence is critical to your business growth and success. In the studio with Sharifah Hardie, promoting your products and services is a breeze.
Want to promote your business? Visit the website at AskSharifah.com.